What is crack-a-lackin', my people? Welcome back to the Shane Vitko Podcast, Episode 3, The Price of Rage and What It Cost Me. Pride and ego is a motherfucker. Give you a quick, for instance. So we went to Florida for the past week, and when we were at the airport, it's everybody's in a fucking rush. Everybody's up your balls, pushing, and, I want to be next. Let me get up like that. They're running out of time, or everyone just got to the airport with 4 seconds to spare. So we were going down the jetway to get onto the plane, and we have a small child, so obviously we're not moving super fast. There's nowhere to go because there's a line to get onto the plane anyways. And this guy's like on my heels, and he's trying to get by. And this is pride and ego. In my head, I'm thinking, where the fuck are you going? What makes you think you're more important than me, that you have to pass me and my wife and child to get on the plane before us? Do you think you're going to get there ahead of time? And I couldn't let it go. So I was like, he was like, hey, can I just get by? And I was like, nope, you can stay right there and wait in line like the rest of us. And this is where it bites you in the ass, which is going to be the premise of today's show. Pride and ego biting you in the ass. He went, I'm just trying to get up there with my wife. What do I say to that? I went, I'm so sorry. My fault. And it was bothering me. It was really eating me up that I let that slip in, right? And this is that thing, like, I'm not fucking better. I'm not over here like on my high horse that everything's fucking cool and I get all the answers. And as we were going onto the plane, of course, where were they seated? Him and his wife, right next to us. So as I was putting the bags in and stuff, I leaned over and I was like, hey, man, I just want to say, like, again, I apologize. I read the situation wrong. I really feel awful. And he was cool about it. And he was like, no big deal, man. I know what it's like to travel with young kids, blah, 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 all this shit. And it was fine, right? But that's an example of how I lived my life for so long and how that still creeps in. So I want to take you guys back in the day, where my anger and my rage, and listen, I have 4,000 stories I could tell on here to where this pertained, but I kind of went through and picked and choose some kind of pivotal points in my life. The first one being in 8th grade, right? And again, it's a pride and ego thing. There was a kid, and he was like a grade younger than me, and we had, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks left in 8th grade, and then you're going to go on to high school to the 9th grade. And I had said something sideways to him the day before, because I'm older and I can, and you shut the fuck up and I get to say whatever I want. Well, this next day, he decided to say something to me along the lines about your mother was in a porno or something like that. See you later. You hurt my pride, you hurt my ego, all that stuff. I start chasing. He runs for his life. I chase this kid around the school, and I finally get him at the front, and I pin him against the wall. And a guidance counselor grabbed me by the shoulder and was like, hey, get your hands off him. Okay. I took my hands off him and immediately turned around and grabbed this teacher by the neck. As a result of that, Mr. Adriani, who smoked cigarettes, this was out of his... He tried his hardest to help me out. Mr. Adriani had a soft spot for hockey players. This, on the other hand, was out of his control. So I was expelled from the last couple weeks of 8th grade. So I still, finished and was going on to high school, but I didn't get to do the final stuff in 8th grade. I had to come on the last day of school after everyone was gone to get my yearbook that like 4 people signed. I missed out on this shit. This was all due to my behavior, right? In not 9th grade, 10th grade. 10th grade, I same thing. I'm playing hockey. And a kid says something to me. Oh no, I got cross-checked on the ice into the goal post, and instantly fueled with rage. And and I could have done this like I had done 100 other times, just a regular fight or whatever, and done 5 minutes in the penalty box. Instead, I used my stick like a baseball bat and two-handed this kid across the neck. The refs came over and grabbed me, and we had cages at the time, and he grabbed my cage and pulled me to the ice. I slipped my head out of the cage, started hitting the ref, skated over to their bench. The police were on the ice. I had to be escorted off the ice, escorted into the locker room, out of the place. My dad's in the stands just going like, what the fuck is going on here? Because again, for me, it was this 0 to 100. You've disrespected me. You've made me feel less than. I'm not weak. I am going to take it to the extreme. And I'm not stopping. There was no fucking stop. There was no like, okay, this was enough. It was like, just keep going and going and going. And as a result of that, I got banned from the dual state and Middlesex leagues in hockey for life. And that was the end of my hockey career, right? And, at no point in time am I looking at any of these things like, there's a fucking pattern here. Maybe I should make some changes. It was everyone else's fault. If this didn't happen, if you didn't cross-check me, if you didn't say this about my mom, if you didn't get me to this point, I wouldn't have had to react this way. And I was full of shit, pride and ego. One time I don't know how old I was, but it was in high school, and we went to the Hilltop Steakhouse as a family, and I'm talking, we're probably 20 people deep easily. And I ordered a steak, and it came, and it wasn't done the way that I wanted it to be done. And instead of just going like, hey man, this is a little bit, the fucking thing's still mooing. Do you think you could send it back to the grill? I lost my shit. I acted like I was at a 5-star restaurant, and I was the fucking governor of Massachusetts, and I had been so disrespected. How dare you bring out the governor's steak like that? And I flipped the fuck out. I flipped out on the guy that came, some poor guy that probably quit his job after that. Some 15, 16-year-old kids screaming at him. I stood up, knocked my chair over, flipped the plate. I might have even threw it. All kinds of fuck this, fuck that. Walked out. My whole family just left there to stare at me and be like, what the fuck just happened? How did it get that serious so quick? My pride was hurt and my ego was hurt. And, who knows, probably a slew of other shit that happened to be going on at that time in my life. And that was another thing, that no matter what was going on for me, it was like, be the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? Like, this happened, this happened, this happened. I'm just a fucking pressure cooker. Be the reason so that I can flip out and address all 7 of these other things that I haven't dealt with. And that one person gets to feel it all. Later on down the line, as far as family's concerned, I had just got out of prison, and I went over to my aunt's house, and this changed the relationship between me and my aunt for a long time. We we're okay now, but it's still not the same. I mean, this lady raised me. And anyways, I went over to her house, and it was about making plans or whatever. It doesn't matter what it was about. But the way that I reacted to it was I slapped my sunglasses off the table, which that's my shit. Why am I breaking my own shit? Knocked my drink off. Fuck you. Fuck this. Fuck that. And I remember the look on my aunt's face, like, what the fuck? It's one thing when they watch me self-destruct and they watch other people in my crosshairs, but when it becomes them, and it's like, she gave me the benefit of the doubt 98% of my life. This lady raised me. She, would never expect me to act like that. But my pride and my ego and my self-importance of, do you know who the fuck I think I am? It won. It won that day. And, that took a long time to to come back from and rebuild. And I'll never forget my dad telling me, he was like, you know, son, you make really good points, and it's not that you're wrong, but the way that you react, you lose all credibility. So I had to learn how I can bring my information to the table when I'm right about something, but I have to learn how to do it like a gentleman. I have to learn how to present my facts of the case without getting loud. To me, it was like, here's the facts of the case, motherfucker, breaking shit. And you lose all credibility because now it's all fear. People aren't even listening to what you're saying because they're just like, what the fuck is going on with this caged animal? And again, at the time, it didn't make sense to me, you know. But later in life now is like, I get to think about that, right? Of like, it's not that I don't bring good ideas or what I'm saying is wrong to the table, but the way that I would handle it or the way that I would bring this information to the table was 1,000% wrong. So let's see. The military. Even when I went to, so I was under the impression that, you know, I would go to boot camp, I would join the military, and I was gonna change and, you know, become this disciplined soldier, and everything was gonna work itself out. There were a few instances when I was in boot camp where, mind you too, that boot camp is the first place I ever withdrew from drugs, and I didn't even know it because I was into Oxycontin prior to going to the military, and I didn't even know that, you know, I just thought it was because I was, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm so many miles away from home. I mean, that must be why I have such watery shit diarrhea all the time and want to throw up and am such an emotional fucking disaster. It was the first time I was dope sick. But anyways, when you're in boot camp, like depending on where you're from is what they call you. So everyone called me Boston in boot camp, right? And then that turned into the Boston Strangler because, like, I would get into fights and my drill sergeants and people were like, dude, you can't punch people in the face. What the fuck are you doing? And to me, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you're making soldiers here. Like, isn't that what we do? And they're like, no, that's not what we fucking do. These people are on your team, stupid. And so I was like, okay, well, I know how to counter that. I won't punch them in the face. I'll just start grabbing everybody by the fucking neck. And all the kids in my platoon and shit would call me the Boston Strangler. And I did that once to a kid from a different platoon, and in the stairwell in between, you know, I was in 4th platoon, this kid was in like 2nd or 3rd, whatever was below me, and we got into it in the stairwell, and he went and fucking told on me. And next thing you know, I have 6 drill sergeants up my balls screaming at me. The amount of times that I was in the first sergeant's office about being kicked out of boot camp, being kicked out of the military, and every time them being like, we'll give you another chance. And where I almost blew it in boot camp, I had a kid that I went through with from reception downrange. We were in the same platoon, everything. I mean, this was my ace. And I had got hurt, and I got excused from PT that day, physical training. And I got to sit in the barracks and just fuck off. And we got smoked later on that day, which was like everyone in the platoon is in trouble, and I didn't have to do it. I got to stand there. I had like 1 crutch, I think, maybe 2. And I'm standing up at the front with the drill sergeants and everyone else getting their balls smoked off, and I'm looking at him and I'm just kind of laughing, like, you know, as a friend or whatever. He stands up and he's like, Drill Sergeant, earlier today when we were doing X, Y, and Z, Vitkovich was up here laying on his bunk. And it wasn't true. Like, he just, I don't know why. So in my mind, I'm just going like, dude, why are you fucking lying right now? Why are you trying to put me on the spot and make me look like a fucking idiot and a liar when you're not being truthful? And without even thinking, again, pride and ego making me feel less than, without even thinking, I had the crutch in my hand and I bashed him in the fucking face with it. Split his shit, his lip split open, blood everywhere. And both my drill sergeants, 2 of the hottest motherfuckers I ever met in my life, both looked at me like, what the fuck? How does your fucking brain work? And it was like, get in the fucking office now, you know? And I go in there and the same thing. And they're just like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You can't keep acting like this. And that was the final straw. That was, you know, I ended up, obviously I made it through boot camp. But what that did, the cost for all these things, right? The cost of losing hockey, which was my first love. I lost that because of my actions, my relationship with my aunt, my relationship with my cousins and my family because of my actions. And here I am again, my best friend in the military. And that was it. We didn't really talk again after that. And I have no idea where he is, what happened. I don't know. And all because of my actions. These are the prices I had to pay. These are the things that I lost along the way. And I didn't even really think about it in those moments because I was such a selfish, self-absorbed human being. And, and that's the cost. Fast forward to pre-deployment. I'm getting ready to deploy to Bosnia, and we're in New Jersey at Fort Dix. And we went out to like I can't remember if it was a strip club or if it was a bar-esque fucking strip club or like a bar where they just wore like, schoolgirl outfits or whatever the fuck. Either way, there was a girl there and, we're all drinking and how you doing, right? And one kid from my platoon, you know how always men prefer, especially when you go out. And there's a one guy in the group that's convinced that some girl in there is in love with him and they're going to get married. Well, we had one of those. And he decided that he would do like hey, man, you need to back up. And like, that's my wife or whatever. And again, you're not going to disrespect me, A, in front of the guys from the platoon, and B, definitely not in front of these girls. And without hesitation, I had my sergeant in front of me who was trying to keep the peace. And I just kind of over his shoulder zinged his ear and hit this kid in the face and fucked him up, dude. Busted his shit. Both windows shut, nose exploded. And I almost got an Article 15 for that. Like we had to make, I think that's what it's called, whatever, something you get when you're in trouble in the military. It's been 1,000 years. I think it's an Article 15 where you get like a write-up and demotion or whatever. And we had to, as a platoon, again, these guys have to cover for me. They have to, we make up this story to tell the captain that, the company commander, that we were playing football and this grown adult just didn't clasp both hands and just went like this and watched a football come directly at his face and smash him in the fucking nose. And I'll never forget that night sleeping in the barracks, listening to this kid try to breathe and the cry, how he would cry out in the night because of the pain that he was in. And again, another relationship strained with the guy that I'm getting ready to go overseas with that potentially could save my life, or I have to save his. That's not a good look. And it's like I kept confusing, like, since I'm so angry, since I'm so aggressive, I am this elite soldier, I'm this elite human being, but really it was a lack of control, which in essence will get you fucking killed. And it's not what you want amongst your troops, amongst your team. You want people that can control their emotions. And I lack that a lot. Even overseas, another kid that I was good friends with, and this was like behind closed doors, and we had an issue and we sorted it out and we had a little fight and that was it. But like that relationship became strained. And it was never the same between him and I. And this is a kid that I lived with. We shared barracks. We shared a lot of times together, a lot of times in the field, a lot of heart-to-heart shit. And it was never the same again. All because my pride, my ego, I let that shit get in the way. And you want to be right or you want to be happy. For the longest time, I wanted to be right. And that was all that fucking mattered. I'm right, you're wrong, fuck you. And that cost, man. That fucking cost. You got to pay the piper on that kind of shit. And then as time goes on in my life, I think about, back to the thing about who I want to be. And I remember I would meet guys and they would have full sleeve tattoos and prison tattoos and all this shit, and like have this wit and this charm and this confidence. And I was like, man, I fucking want that. I want all of that, And like in my head, I wanted to be that, like, I want to go, not that I wanted to go to prison, but I wanted to know what it was like, I guess, subconsciously, maybe, like how do I become one of these guys? How do I get that status? I remember like when I tried to get sober the first few times, and I was like, man, my story is not interesting. Like, I've never been to prison. I've never done all this stuff. And like, it's not really that bad. Things haven't got that bad for me. They were fucking plenty bad. But I had to keep going. I had to keep touching the stove. I had to, I had to get all the t-shirts. I had to get all the fucking mugs and keychains and do all the things. And well, motherfucker, I got them, And look, man, when I did time, like, I don't claim to be, I was not the toughest guy in prison. I didn't run the fucking yard. None of that shit. But I think about when I was in Walpole too, and like how what you attach to that, like, oh, I'm so fucking tough. I was in Walpole. Like, they gave me the choice in Concord too when I was in reception. Like, do you want to go to the Max or Walpole? And I'm like, nope, right to fucking Walpole so that I can tell everyone. I'd change it on my fucking license when I get home and tell everyone that I'm from Walpole or whatever the fuck. Like kids that go to the Gavin house in South Boston and change their ID on their address on their license plate. I mean, on their fucking license to say South Boston. Yeah, hi. It was the same shit. I wanted that on my record that I had been to Walpole, blah, blah, blah. Never mind that I'm there and fights break out or getting tattoos. I like to call them scary stickers, right? Because the more scary stickers I have, the more that, again, you won't know how much fear I have. You won't know. You will just automatically be intimidated. You will think, wow, look at all your fucking scary tattoo stickers. Wow, oh my goodness, you must be fucking crazy. And it's funny when you think, like, I think about when I first went into county, when I didn't know fuck all about shit and was so confused and like, where do you even go? What the fuck do you do? To when I finally got out and how, again, dehumanized I was, how desensitized I was, how much I had become another fucking cog in the machine of understanding prison culture, prison rules, how prison works, how to walk, how to talk, how to do all the things. And to look back and think, fuck, man, to think about how clueless I was when I first got here to how tough and cool I feel now because I get it and like, I don't give a shit, and I know I got to go in here and squat naked and cough with my balls hanging out and all this shit. You know what I mean? It's like no big deal. A lot of time, dude. A lot of time and opportunity wasted. All because of my pride and ego. And, like I said, it doesn't stop there. There's so many other situations that I've been in life that I couldn't let it go, and it took some work on that, right? So how come I don't do that now? And I got something that I wrote that I'm going to read at the end because I don't know, I'm not doing a fucking movie script here where I was going to remember this whole thing word for word. So I wrote it down, taped it to the fucking screen. We'll get to it at the end. But anyways, what that looked like for me was when I started to realize, again, through doing some work, doing some step work, doing therapy, was like, why? Why is it so important to me? Why do I feel like it's my job to be the asshole police? Right? Like I do no wrong. I'm holier than thou. So as soon as you do something wrong, I remember I would be on the subway, I would be on the train, just anywhere in life. And if you did something that I perceived as you being an asshole, I couldn't just go like, oh, well, there's another asshole in my head. I had to go, hey, man, do you know that you're a fucking asshole? And if you don't stop doing what you're doing, I'm going to smack the shit out of you. And sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. But it's that, like, I had to feed my ego. I had to feed my pride. I needed to feel more powerful. And that all stems back to childhood of feeling less than, older kids, my dad, people yelling or screaming at me where I felt helpless and couldn't protect myself or do anything to defend myself. This was my chance as an adult, hardened criminal, whatever it was now, that went, fuck yeah. You get to pay for all the times that I couldn't fucking stand up for myself. You get to pay for all the times that I acted like a coward, and that I felt that I acted like a coward and couldn't do anything about it. You're going to pay for it. The whole fucking world is going to pay for it. So once I realized, shit, man, so many different things where I had felt wronged, or situations or people or institutions or places I'd been at where it had affected my pride, my ego. It affected my, relationships with other people, the way people perceived me, the way I perceived people. I had to start, I don't know if it's that thing of like separating fact from feeling. I know some people say feelings aren't facts and shit. I don't even know if I really understand what the fuck that means. But what I was able to do overall was, as soon as I feel that coming on, or I feel wronged, or somebody has done something to me where I feel less than, I feel weaker, is learn to pause. I had no pause before. It was just, this is how you made me feel. This is how I'm reacting. Now it's like, this is how this makes me feel. I recognize this. I fucking know this game. What do I want to do about this? Do I give a fuck about it? Do I think I'm in 6th grade and all my friends are watching and people are going to laugh at me and call me a pussy for the rest of my life? I'm a fucking grown-up, dude. Right? And when I do pause, because now it's about like, I never considered consequence. I remember I had a friend out in LA and I asked him, Big D, something my guy. I asked him, how do you do it, man? You did so much time in prison. How the fuck do you not end up going back to prison and wanting to slap the shit out of somebody? And he was like, consequences, dude. I'm not willing to accept the consequences anymore. And I remember thinking like, fuck, I wish it was that simple. It is that simple. Would I rather deal with the fact that someone might go, oh man, and also the people that are going to tell me, oh, you pussy, I can't believe you let that slide, are probably in fucking prison, going back to prison, or aren't really doing much. Like, why is that who I want to emulate? Why is it so important that I care about what someone, because no real friend that I have would ever say that, no real friend that I have is texting me going, dude, stop being such a vulnerable dork on your podcast. Everybody is like, thank you for being this vulnerable. I can relate to what you're saying. I appreciate what you're doing. Those are my friends. Water seeks its own level. Those are the people that I keep around me today, not the people that want to see me come back to the chaos. It's just like drinking or smoking or doing drugs. People need other people to do that shit with, because then it okays your behavior or makes you feel like, cool, I got somebody else that's willing to ride this boat to hell with me, and I don't want to get in the fucking boat to hell anymore, dude. I just fucking don't, and it took a while. This is not an overnight thing where I just went like, oh yeah, consequences. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to fucking church. No, it took time, and it took learning, and it took lessons, and it took, fuck, that was close. I almost let my pride and ego get me back to this place. But ultimately, starting to pause, think about consequences, and thinking about who I want to be as a man. What is important to me? And I'll tell you another big thing that helped me with this was in LA, acting. So I did a play in LA, and I went and auditioned, and I got cast for it and all this stuff. And I remember thinking, dude, who the fuck does a play, right? I got to wear tights. I got to do all this shit. And someone was like, you're not doing a fucking musical, dude. You're doing a play. It's basically just a movie with no cut. And I was like, well, that's crazy. And I'll never forget doing this. And I was terrified, dude. Terrified. Because I don't do shit like this. No one that I know does things like this. Theater or anything, right? And my friends came to see it. And in my head, they're going to tell me after the thing, you're a fucking nerd, dude. I can't believe this is what you're doing. How many people do you think said that? Goose egg. Everybody was like, dude, that was fucking amazing. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you have the balls to get up there and do that. How do you do that? How'd you remember the script? How'd you do? And just what I perceive and the tape that in my head that was telling me that people were going to say is still me from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 15, 22 years old, telling me all this shit that everybody's going to make fun of me. And that helped me a lot, because it was when I did that play was really the first time. So we're talking, what? I don't know, fucking 39, 40, something like that. And for the first time ever in my life, I had done something that I wanted to do for me because it looked fun. It was just like playing soccer or playing tennis. I finally said, I'm going to do this because it's something I want to do, and it looks fun, and I like the people that I'm doing it with, and I don't give a fuck about the results. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. And I truly didn't. Had people been like, you're a dork, whatever, cool, man, all good. I had fun doing it. Again, that's not what happened, but what happened in this time was it made me realize that I'm done giving a fuck what people think. I'm going to do what I want to do. If it looks fun to me, if it's something I want to do, I'm going to do it. And, you know, like I said, receiving the feedback that I received from that, I think it took away so much nerves. It took away so much of this, I'm not doing it because it's not cool, because I don't think you think it's cool. And I started to do things that I wanted to do that I thought were cool, you know? So, yeah, man. So I think that's it. You know, that's what I really wanted to address today, was the really highlight, like not just the anger, but for me, it was rage, you know, just, you know, that I see red kind of thing. I'll kill everyone here. I see red, which most of the time you don't. You're just a fucking absolute liability and end up just blowing up your own life and no one else, really. Anyways, rage for me, and what that cost me. The amount of friendships, jobs. My dad got me a job with the railroad. I lost that because someone said something to me, and my pride and ego, and I had to tell this guy every fuck you and fuck this, and he was protected by the union. Guess who wasn't? This guy. Guess who got escorted out on a Friday by fucking security to his car? Take care. Embarrass my dad where he works. So many opportunities, so many relationships, so many situations that were avoidable. But my anger, my rage, what I thought was the way that you deal with something, and what that cost me, and how I've had to rebuild that through the years. Relationships with my family, with my nephew, you know, with a lot of people that I hurt, or were casualties of war because of my actions. And some of them are forgiving, and some of them, you know, we've moved on, and they've, you know, accepted that I've changed and made some changes, and other people have straight up told me, I'm really proud of you, glad things are well, but this is the last conversation we have, you know, and I have to be okay with that. I don't get to then let my pride and ego step back in and go, wait a minute, I apologized, I'm different now, why can't we be friends? I'm not in the results business, you know, so I can't control that. So fuck yeah. So let me read you guys this thing that I wrote. And hopefully this makes sense to some of you guys and gals. Pride still talks to me. Ego still tries to convince me I need to defend myself, even when there's nothing to defend. That mask I wore for decades keeps trying to crawl back on because it's familiar. I know exactly where that road leads, and I'm not paying that price again. The work now is choosing who shows up. Do I want to slide back into that scared, angry kid who reacts without thinking? Or do I want to keep being the man who pauses, weighs consequences, and answers life instead of attacking it? Most days I choose right. Some days I have to wrestle for it. But the fight is worth it every time. Love you guys. Keep tuning in. We'll see you next episode.